What up, everybody? Welcome back to the live stream. We decided to name this Free Talk Friday to discuss all the mess that took place this week and more. Jazari here with Tommy, my co host. How are you doing?
Good, good. I should have shaved. I didn't realize it was sprouting stubble.
There we go. Now I'm looking good. Ooh, all right. How have you been this week? I feel like I have not talked to you in forever and a day.
Yeah, even though it's been like 2 days, 3 days or something like that. It's
Yeah.
going well. I recently switched to 410s at my place of work, and today's my first Friday off. I did my first 10-hour shift yesterday, so
How does that feel?
I mean, it's not so. I mean, because like when you do like a work day, you're already putting in 8 hours. So what's another 2 hours? I mean, the day's burnt, right? It's like you're not gonna go out to the club or something like that in the club,
Right.
you know. So it's like, what's another 2 hours to get an extra day of the week off? So yeah,
S-
that's anyways.
So when I used to work in corporate America, toward the last like few years that I was there, I worked in quality assurance and we
Mhm.
got to kind of like do our own schedule. So it was kind of a little bit flexible. So I would work like 8.5 hour days or 9 hour days and then like leave early on a Friday. But I
Um,
couldn't do like 410s because we had to be there from like between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. So I would,
mhm.
you know, work extra so that I could be off at 2 on a Friday. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and I hope Bernie Sanders is successful in pushing this whole 3-day work week, 30-hour work week. That's something he's been talking about with no decrease in pay. I'll vote for that.
What's the actual what's the word? What's the actual possibility of that actually happening?
I don't know. I mean, right now it's an interesting time for working class people. You know,
Hmm.
there's a lot of I mean, it's like productivity and profits have just soared and soared since the 1980s, and it's like what we used to be able to done in 40 hours, we get done in almost no time at all. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, 30-hour work week is just as profitable or just as efficient today or productive today as it was, a 40-hour work week, 20 years ago, you
Sure.
know. And then also we're not sharing in that productivity, those profits, working class people. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we could take a step back to a 30-day work week. Or
Okay.
30-hour work week, sorry. And I mean, also that might even that opens more jobs and stuff to people. But I don't know. The odds are quite low until working class people start fighting this class warfare that's been going on since, I guess, the birth of our nation. I don't know.
Mercedes said this week did too much. Not to kind of just like jump off. I just noticed the
That's
chat on
fine.
the left. Should I try to put the chat up on screen?
Oh, you can if you want. And honestly, I want some of these people to just jump on sometime. Y'all should do it. Like,
Yeah.
just do audio only. We'll just hear your thoughts about anything.
Should we drop them a link? Hold on. Let me redo this
If anybody's
design.
brave enough.
This is kind of all over the place. So, not all over the place. I just didn't do a good job of organizing.
I mean, it's Free Talk Friday. We said let's just do an informal thing anyways, because
No, not that.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, the way this looks from like the producer end is different.
I see what you're saying.
Ooh, that's how it's looking. Do I
Mercedes
like
says
that?
she's brave enough today. Let's do it.
Do I like this?
I think it's all right. But anyway, hey, Mercedes says she'll jump on and give us a thought or two. Just discuss.
Yeah, let me hide the overlays. Mercedes, she said I'm brave enough today. Hold on. Awesome, awesome. Let me Sorry guys. Okay. Hold on. Let me go to Facebook. Mercedes and I are friends on Facebook. So I will DM you a link right now, Mercedes. I don't think we've talked a lot over the internet. I just don't think we've ever talked like in person. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah, we've interacted online and through like voice chats and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure she's a libertarian. She's lives maybe out in Kearney, if I'm not mistaken. But I love my libertarians. Maybe we can get into a debate today. I don't know. She's cool. She's cool from what I remember.
So, okay, I sent Mercedes the link. Looks like she just saw the message. But really quick, let's talk about some changes. So I'm at home actually today. I was at my studio earlier, which process of revamping, but Tommy has actually been taking time to like get his setup looking right. Look at him with his
I'm working
in the
on
background.
I'm working on it. I need to get some more books, although this view looks pretty good actually. Yeah, even though I have like plenty of shelf to go. But yeah.
Okay, so Mercedes, hold on. Did it give you an audio only option?
Oh, this is fun. I'm on my phone. Guillermo says, my concern, it would kill Obamacare. And that's we do need to kill Obamacare with Medicare for all. Right? Based? Anybody? Yeah. For-profit health insurance should not be a thing.
There it goes. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I've never done this on my phone. Usually just StreamYard on the computer.
Well, do you want to put up your camera so we can see you?
I mean, we could. I just picked up the kid from school. So, I mean, let me do some makeup while I'm audio only. How about that?
Oh my gosh.
I have an appearance to keep up, okay?
No, I'm saying you don't have to jump on if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying?
No, it makes it more personable.
2 seconds. No, I spent the day being a mom with a kid at school and just focused on politics. And it was a slow day on the internet.
Gotcha.
So it was
Yeah. Now, Mercedes, if I'm not mistaken, we've interacted a little bit. You are a libertarian, is that correct? Like you're registered with the party?
I am. So I joined the Libertarian Party of Nebraska in 2019. Ran for Nebraska State Legislature in 2020, and then City Council in 2022. I was the Tri-Cities Libertarian Party of Nebraska Secretary, Vice Chair, and Chair. We disaffiliated once things got hairy within our own party. So yeah, I am a libertarian. I have a lot of gripes. I am the mouthiest libertarian. Mercy on Facebook. So
we have a friend of the show who's also a libertarian, and I like to tell him that if you're getting along with everybody in your political party, you're doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you mean Trevor?
Oh yes. Do you know Trevor?
Hold on. Why'd you say his name like that?
Oh, you mean Trevor? Yeah, I yes. Trevor and I were actually at the Colorado Gold Rush 2021 state convention together. Laura Epke was there and was supposed to speak, and that was the first out-of-state convention I had gone to, and that's when I realized, whoa, we're in trouble.
Oh, the Libertarian Party.
Oh yeah, that was about the time that we have our caucus wars. If you're not a libertarian, you're not in on the dumpster fire that the party is internally. But it was heavily caucused. There was lots of caucuses involved, and there was one caucus in particular, the Mises Caucus, that came in and started kind of dismantling all the other caucuses and running people out. And now, a few years later, we are at the point where there is only one caucus predominantly. But Laura Epke was a part of the Pragmatic Caucus and was a Nebraska state senator. She is credited for being...
Go ahead.
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh, Laura Epke was credited with changing Nebraska's state constitution so that it was, while she was elected, to make it easier for other parties to become recognized in the state for ballot access. So she stepped away from the party too because of all the inner drama, and that was really sad for me because she was elected as a Republican, changed the Constitution, became a libertarian, and then was attacked from the GOP on her own. So within the libertarian scope of things, it's been, for me personally, it's been a long 5 years, 6 years. Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, she actually moved to New Mexico and she recently ran for office, isn't that
She
correct?
did not move, though. She is still in Nebraska, as far as I know. She is still a registered libertarian, and she was the write-in candidate for the Liberal Party USA's presidential run with
Oh, okay.
Trisha Butler. So they
Okay.
asked people if they would do it, and she and Butler said yes, we would. But
Okay.
most of the people
Okay.
within the Liberal Party are still registered libertarians.
Okay.
So it's been interesting from this side.
Okay.
Guillermo, I can also drop you a link too if you would like.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to just.
Let's get a party going.
And I am
Self-edit
doing my
here.
makeup while I talk politics.
Yeah, no, you're good.
And Mercedes,
We're after
I can hear you
multitask.
doing your makeup.
So, hey,
Oh, yes, it's
Mercedes.
so loud, right?
Mercedes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you've like tuned into my live streams, I feel like since 2020, if I'm not
Yes, I have.
mistaken.
Yes.
So
We
you've
were
been
protest buddies online.
Yeah. So I was telling Tommy about those days where I would like live stream all the time and
yeah.
have people on. So do you remember the days where I would like just bring random people on
Yeah.
just like on my phone and stuff like that? We've since leveled up. We got AI
You
cameras now, but
are a professional podcaster and reporter now. It is beautiful to watch you evolve as a professional over the last 4 years. It's been an honor and a privilege, truly. Yeah, you do
Tommy's here
great
too.
reporting.
and privilege is all mine. Thank you so much for being a part of the journey.
I'm just glad that we did what we did when we did it, so that now that things are being super weird, we're like, ugh, we're veterans now. We've been here a time or two.
Yeah. Guillermo, I also just sent you a link.
So did you say that
Kimra Snipes is on? Wow.
Oh, man.
So I watch Kimra Snipes every time she's on First Sky Omaha. I ran into her in Omaha for the gosh. You guys, my brain is kind of like short circuiting and it's starting to become a concern. This is like
It's Friday, man.
What was it? I saw her in Omaha recently, but yeah, Miss Kimra Snipes. She always tunes on. I'll send her a link too, just in case. All right, go ahead, Tommy.
Oh yeah, so I was actually kind of curious because I always kind of love inter-party drama. But you said that the Tri-City area libertarians disassociated with the Nebraska Libertarian Party.
Yeah, so here, I think I'm ready to be seen too. I'm on my phone. Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Hey.
Hi. So yeah, we disaffiliated in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. 2023 early, when our state had the takeover. Our lovely chair then was Matt Lawrence, and we were sitting on quite a nice little nest egg. Oh yeah, and I've got my Marps Abstead shirt on. But we were sitting on quite a little nest egg of donations that we had acquired. And there was a financial drama going on with the Liberty Fest and the state party taking out loans and trying to repay them. And so they were trying to disaffiliate us as an affiliate. And we held out until the new chair took over, who is Rachel Nelson. And I love her. I love the new state chair. And we held out and they didn't get our money. But we did disband. Technically, we're in a one of those, like, we're not technically disaffiliated, but we can come back, but it'll take a year to be on probation and reassociate. But nobody wants to. We were already burnt out. We were already fighting with the state. I mean, the past 5 years I've been associated with it. It has not been kosher once.
Is it just for breaking rules? Is it that's what's going on?
No, it's well, how to explain this? So in 2020 at the Nebraska State Convention, Jo Jorgensen was there, and she was our presidential candidate. And I became a candidate that weekend as well of the state convention. And so we were all just there hanging out. And there were a couple members of the party that were already Mises Caucus. And this was before anything about the Mises Caucus really came out. And it started here. It started in Omaha. It started with our state Libertarian Party because they were doing the unvention in 2018. They were already starting that anarchical, we don't kind of thing. And so at the 2020 convention, the people in charge were slating it. They told me how I should vote already. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So fast forwarding to now, it makes sense that our state party was taken over first and that it collapsed first because the infighting started here and branched its way out. And it started really because of podcasts. There was this Scott Zimmerman and Dre were on their libertarian podcast. I can't remember what it was called now. And they had internal fighting, and that branched out into the caucuses, which branched out into the party, which branched out to now. And it's been years and years. And there's actually a third party watch, I think .com. There's some established libertarians that are posting everything there to keep track of all the dumpster fire. If you really want to be to it. But I went to DC this year. I went to Reno 2 years ago. Oh,
what's your favorite part of DC?
The fact that I was smoking marijuana where a president was almost assassinated and I didn't even notice. I didn't notice.
In DC?
Yeah, in DC. So weed's legal.
Reagan?
Yeah, is that the one that got shot at the hotel?
Yeah, I want to say it was Reagan, yeah.
Okay, well, that's where we had our convention.
Oh, my goodness.
So RFK was there. You know,
yeah,
got the RFK Victory Fund. It feels like money laundering. I wish I had.
What do you think of him?
He had these in DC on his table.
Oh my
Bobby
God.
Debate
Bobby. So Donald Trump was at the convention too. And neither one of them wanted to debate on the debate stage. So RFK brought these to the convention.
Yeah.
And encouraged people to take them into Trump's rally.
Oh, I see.
And now there's a rubber chicken caucus of the LP. So what I thought of DC was it was weird. It was just weird.
You didn't go to
what
museum.
do you mean?
It was just weird. I mean, have you guys been to a political convention before?
Yes.
No, not really.
Have you been to one in DC?
I mean, I watched the libertarian conventions because I just like the chaos, but not to say that the Democratic Party conventions are, that organized.
And
Go ahead.
I caucused for the Democrats in 2008 here, and so that's like normal. And the libertarian conventions are never actually normal. And then you go to DC with a whole bunch of people that forget that laws exist.
Oh no. Oh no. Well,
and there's Secret Service. So that's what I mean. It was weird.
So
I will give you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tommy. You go ahead.
Well, I'll make it quick. I'll give you one thing. Like, y'all actually do stuff at the Libertarian Convention, whereas everything for the DNC convention is everything's already done. There's nothing that they actually do of substance at the DNC, which there's pros and cons and that sort of thing. But when I watch videos from the Libertarian National Convention, it's like they are trying to do stuff. They are trying to do procedure. It's a mess because nobody wants to open Robert's Rules of Order and learn. And
that's a fact.
I will say at the last convention, everybody thought that the chair was being this like dictator, but that chair was following procedure. But everybody was just like,
chair.
Yeah.
Angela, the female chair.
I thought it was, I think I remember it as it was a real person presiding over the state convention. And I believe they were credentialed professional. But it's the people in the audience, and not to say that Democrats know a lot about procedure either, but the people in the audience just did not understand what was going on, and so they just assumed she was just steamrolling everybody, and it's like she technically wasn't.
We had cheat sheets in DC for Robert's Rule, and it used to be like that, but and in Reno it was like that, but in DC with the Mises Caucus and how they have things functioning, they just had their slate, their paper. They are very efficient in business meetings because they have it all planned out beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was working on Mapstead's presidential campaign. So I was not a delegate in DC. I was a paid campaign staffer. That was fun.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Jazari.
DC is just like this odd place. Like in the sense of, so I went to DC for the first time in 2022 and I went for the SPJ, Society of Professional Journalists Conference, and that's where I met my brain is short-circuiting again. Who's that guy from 60 Minutes?
Dan Rathers?
No.
The other one.
Black guy. Just interviewed Harris, and people were like, why am I Bill Whitaker, right?
Oh, Bill Whitaker. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, I literally have the dude's number, but it was wild. So so I was there for that, and just seeing just the buildings and stuff like that. It's so weird. So like I guess going to the Library of Congress, and on my way out, one of the people that worked there was like, "Isn't it crazy to think that you've been in a room that every single U.S. president has been in since George Washington?" And I'm just like, "Wow, I didn't think of it that way." And then like the White House
Yep.
is like in oddly like stark white color. Like looking at it like in person and at night, like it's just like it
It's
almost looks
really
fake.
white.
Yeah.
It's a really whitewashed lime building.
Yeah. So
Almost.
I heard that they clean it once a year and then paint it the next year. So like they really upkeep it.
That makes
Um
sense.
but then like if you go a block outside of kind of just where like the loop is, like you see like, you know, rundown buildings and things like that. It's like the weirdest place. But it
And
was fun.
that's
I liked it.
right.
It was
And like I
pretty.
liked it. Our hotel was not in the best part of DC. There was lots of empty storefronts, but
Mm,
like I got to drive downtown DC. Like I drove to DC. I drove around in DC. Driving in
yeah.
DC is disorienting. And then something I really liked, I got lost, but I found the Kennedy Center. And before I found the
Mm,
Kennedy Center, I found the mural of Marilyn Monroe that's on the building downtown. And it is facing Kennedy on the Kennedy Center, and his mural's facing that building with Marilyn Monroe's face on it. Like it's little things like that I found in DC.
yeah. I
It was
mean,
just very
the thing too, it's that like when DC was built, it was, you know, when the settlers were kind of in rebellion and stuff, and they had to pretty much a had to make it purposefully disorientating to kind of like fend off like, you know, an
mhm.
invasion or things like
It's
that so people get lost.
yeah, actually driving there and being there, you see exactly why it's our capital. And
Yeah.
up until this point, my little patriot heart, my little let's keep fighting for democracy was gone. And then being in DC and just
Yeah.
catching the vibe and I've never seen the ocean, being that close to the ocean, I was like, okay, I guess our country is kind of pretty, isn't it? It
It
is.
is.
Okay.
It is.
It is.
Um and I think it's kind of
It
one of those
is.
things too. Like I went to the African American History Museum, and that was my like favorite part of it all.
Do anything fun.
And I think that, I mean, they had like a piece of a slave ship in there, and they had all these artifacts and all of these things. And, you know, there was a lot of like triggering aspects of it. But at the end, like you walk away with this appreciation of like how these things were found. I mean, there were some videos of them like diving to the bottom of an ocean to get like, oh, snap.
Sorry.
That was crazy.
This is a good
I
time
saw,
to try to
Tommy,
readjust my camera anyways.
Tommy, you're not supposed to wear your lunch.
I'm not supposed to wear my lunch.
Oh, that's cat hair.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there was like footage of them diving down to like the bottom of a bottom of the ocean to like get the piece of a ship or to like find other artifacts or things like that. And everything in the museum was extremely intentional, like down to like the lighting and things. And I'm just like, it must have taken an army of like historians, archaeologists, interior designers, contractors to like build this to be what it was or is. And I love it. The 2 times that I've gone there, I've went and walked through the museum. Absolutely love it.
And this first trip was just a work trip, so I got to see stuff, but I didn't get to go see stuff.
Yeah.
And that was sad. I did actually. I lied. I got to go one place as a tourist, and that was the 9/11 memorial at the Pentagon.
Dang.
That was the only place I got to go.
I have never seen the Pentagon.
I didn't know we were at the Pentagon. I literally just needed to like pull over and just like get out and just decompress from that drive during rush hour to the airport.
Yeah.
And so the person I was with was like, just pull off here. And I pull off and I see the building. I'm like, is that you brought me to the Pentagon? You brought me, the libertarian, to the Pentagon? Like, you want me to, like, what? But then you get to that parking lot and you see the memorial. And then you turn around and the Native American memorial's right there on the hill by the Pentagon. And it's one of the most overwhelming experiences I've ever felt in my life, just being at the Pentagon.
Wow.
Seeing all of this stuff, knowing I was where the plane crashed in that parking lot, it was like, oh, okay, huh?
Yeah.
Let's just take a minute and breathe, because Pentagon's it's a fortress. It's scary. It's an intimidating DC building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
it was
there's like quadruple the amount of, or I guess double the amount of bathrooms there, because it was built when segregation was still a thing. They just have a ton of bathrooms there. Yeah.
I only saw the porta potties.
Yeah. I mean, on the inside, and then also
wouldn't they like get rid of some of those bathrooms to make more room? Turn one of them into like
I don't think so.
I
mean, I can look it up if you want to, but I remember that little fun fact about how the military was still segregated. But you still had like black officers. It's so awkward that like
that is weird.
You had black officers outranking white enlisted people, but they still kept them separate. And that was just considered normal.
The good old days.
Mercedes, how do you feel about the state of American democracy?
Where's my pearls? I'm gonna clutch them. I feel like we are in the perfect position to defend it.
Okay.
I mean, you got guns, don't you? You're a good libertarian, right?
I am a good libertarian girl. I do have my one.
Okay, so
gun, yes.
I've been thinking about this a lot more lately. I feel like I should get a pew pew.
I approve that message.
I approve of that too.
But I've never like so my brother has several, you know, but I've never like, you know, gone shooting or anything like that. But I'm just like, you know, like things are getting a little too hot out here. It's getting a little wild, and I think I need a pew pew.
Yeah. I mean,
so this is where I get nervous too, I guess. So I'm like researching entry level one or for beginners and things like that. And I'm just like, what if they like think I'm up to something? You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
You get flagged just for trying to use your Second Amendment right?
Crazier things have happened.
Yes, I know. There are a lot of private instructors, especially in your area, and they don't flag you, and you don't even need to take the classes. You can just go right in and buy a gun from Shields.
I feel like that's a bad idea. Yeah.
You know, you can do that though. That's a thing.
I mean,
I'm entitled to do.
Yeah.
I argue you should take classes because you want to be actually like trained, like you want to be practiced, you know, because it just becomes a paperweight as you get out of practice. And I say that now, and I haven't practiced in a while, but no, I was raised with guns, and I was raised in a very conservative environment and stuff. But you know, as soon as I got to college and started having my ideas challenged, you know, I changed my mind on a lot of things, but not guns.
Liberal when you went to college?
Oh, actually, believe it or not, I feel like a lot of white guys who go to college, they go this trajectory. They come in as a Republican, then they become a libertarian for a little bit, and then they're just like, all right, I'm going to be a liberal. But I've retained a lot of stuff when it comes to.
Sorry, real quick. Let me read this comment. Kimra says, "I've been shooting since I was 15 and own a Smith & Wesson 9mm M&P Shield 2.0. Have no idea what that means."
That's
Kimra,
very nice pew pew. Very nice pew pew. This is what that is.
Kimra, I sent you a link. Kimra, check your messages on Facebook. But go ahead, Mercedes.
9mm is what police officers generally carry. Yeah.
This is gonna sound dumb. Is 9mm isn't like the barrel width, is it?
It's the bullet size
caliber.
Technically.
See, this is why I need to take classes.
Yeah. Well, and I own a double barrel shotgun, double triggered coach short thing, and with the home defense indoor shot, because when you little gun safety, when you're talking home defense and firearms, you have to be thoughtful of the ammunition you keep so that you're not shooting through the wall to your neighbor's house, right? So I grew up shooting shotguns and doing clay shoots and loading the ammo with grandpa. Like, handguns are nice, and shotguns are better.
So let me ask you guys a question. You guys who know your pew pews. So
hey, I didn't say that.
When I'm sure you guys have seen how people have been using like cryptic like language online to like avoid being like flagged or something like that. So instead of saying,
you know, is not playing right now.
But so when people like clean their guns, right? So let's say you haven't shot your gun in a while. Like, what's the point of cleaning it? Is it just like buildup of dust or like?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And
That's
to
it.
keep maintenance. I mean, just to know how to actually clean the thing.
Well,
Good to
and you
know.
don't want your mechanisms to get frozen, like it's
Speaking
metal.
of which, so I watched the
Oh,
video that
gotcha. Yeah.
I watched the video of the guy who assassinated the healthcare CEO, and his gun just kept jamming. It
That's
looked like.
what I said.
And I was just like, bro. And everybody's like calling him a professional. It's just like, first of all, you didn't have to brandish your weapon like that. You could have kept it a
He
little bit
didn't have
concealed.
gloves on. His gun kept
Oh.
jamming.
Guys, this is Kimra Snipes. She called it Kimra Pew Pew.
I like
Snipes.
I thought that was funny.
I
That
think
is
it's
funny.
hilarious.
I am driving, so.
And I need to fix my camera. Hold on.
Oh my gosh. And there's also Guillermo. Kimra, how are you doing? We met in Omaha for the first time in person. I'm blanking out. I can't remember the parade name.
I don't remember. Oh, it was a parade. Oh.
It's a very, very big holiday.
Maybe Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. See, this is what I'm saying when I like this is concerning. I gotta go make sure. I think I'm just at capacity right now. But how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. On my way to go meet with a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. I won my school board race, so trying to.
Oh yeah, congratulations, guys.
Oh!
Kimra Snipes is back on the Omaha School Board.
Yes! Oh, I love that so much. You won.
Thank you. Yeah, I used to be on the school board before in a different sub-district and had to move because of affordable housing issues. So ran a different sub-district and not North Omaha like they say it's really all there. It's actually the South Omaha. And so yeah, I'm excited to be back. Yep. And thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Do you guys hear that audio feedback?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, we just lost. Oh, there she is.
Oh, crap.
I think it's. There we
My
go,
phone's
Kimra.
totally not set up the way it needs to be now. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
There you go.
That's all right.
Because Guillermo left. I don't know.
Yeah.
He keeps
He
hopping
said
in and out.
he said in his in the chat that his dad is being weird.
Oh, connect to Wi-Fi.
Floating head and eyes.
So
Yeah.
Kimra,
Yes, sir.
I'm interested to hear your take. You know, Tommy and I have had a lot of election postmortems, and I'm kind of just asking everybody what their thought on the state of American democracy is.
You know, I thought I heard the young lady say we were in a good position to be able to defend it. And I was like, you know, and that's that glass half full mentality, first of all, which I appreciate because, I mean, just as a woman of color, we just come with an automatic resilience anyway.
Sure.
I think that it is definitely on the line. I don't know if people have a full appreciation for how serious it is, but I do agree that we're in a place to be able to defend it if we can recognize our own power.
Sure.
We don't recognize our own power.
That part right there.
But I also think we make it more difficult than it has to be. But I think also that's because a lot of people like to, start on step 4 and 5 and they skip a few. If you know me, you know I'm a neighborhood organizer. I believe that all development, whether it's social or economic, starts in neighborhoods. And you have to engage people because we got to get the right people elected, right? And so you have to engage people. You have to help them understand process. You have to build their relationships with decision makers. You have to help them build their capacity. And you have to get them along with others to create a meaningful sense of community ownership. If you do those 4 things together, first of all, they're precursors to systemic change, but also it's how you organically get people interested enough to be out here voting instead of just constantly telling people, hey, you ain't voting. You need to go vote. Why ain't you voting? You know what I'm saying? When there's several reasons why people ain't. My son don't.
Wow.
And he's my son.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how odd is that? You would never think that Kimra Snipes' son does not. but he is so just disenfranchised with the process. You know, he hears me talk about the things that I have to deal with elected officials. And he's like, why would I even want to be a part of that? He says that everybody but me, the only thing they talk about is who's running for president anyway.
Yeah.
Even right now, the question is, you know, about post-election, I'm pretty sure, because everybody thinking about Trump. Well, I'm over here like, well, what about our congressperson? What about our U.S. senators? What about our county commissioners? Which, by the way, our county commissioners voted to get rid of public comment on non-agenda items, and half of them are Democrats, like me, right? What about our city council members and our school board members? You know, our county clerks and all these other things. So we spend a whole lot of time talking about that when we need to be talking about this over here.
Yeah.
So how do I feel about democracy? Kind of the same way I've always felt about it, because I've been traumatized in this world, living in poverty and all of these things. So stuff has been messed up for me.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I don't think it can't get worse, but we do have power and we can do things. And for me, I'm focusing my energy on empowering people where they live by training them, engaging them, and just providing them with resources to help them just develop these really thriving neighborhoods, because that's what it's about for me. And that was probably a super long answer, but
That was a very thoughtful answer.
Astrid. That
Yeah,
is
I
the
think-
answer we needed. Besides,
Yeah.
well, we can fight for it because that's. Yep. It's.
You know,
Yep.
I don't think people realize like how much power, like, you know, American democracy gets its power from the people, you know, and
right.
I think people underestimate what they have the power to go out and do.
And the beautiful thing about people, so I approach everything from an asset-based community development lens, and that's a real thing that you can research. And with asset-based community development, all neighborhoods, all spaces have 5 assets. One are people, and as people, we are all born with gifts and skills and talents. We are born with them. I'm gonna go a step further because I do believe in God and say that God gave us. You know what I'm saying? So we're born with these gifts and skills and talents, and then we have these spaces, they're associations and institutions. So associations are spaces where people come together because they want to, not because they paid to. Neighborhood association, PTO, it could be a motorcycle club because they're not all bad. Space where people come together because they want to, and in these spaces, people's gifts and talents, like mine, even though I was living in poverty, even though my son's father was in the feds, right? My gifts and talents start to get recognized. Like, oh wow, like Kim are kind of good at that. I never would have known, right?
Yeah.
Then you have institutions, and these are places where gifts and skills and talents start to get cultivated. Schools are institutions, businesses are institutions. You know what I'm saying? These different spaces are institutions. Then you have your physical spaces. It could be a park. It could be an alley. It could be the library. It could be scooters I'm about to go into here right now and have this meeting with this teacher. But physical spaces where people come to do good things, practicing these gifts and skills and talents. And then you have relationships. Southside Terrace, what like people call the projects. I hate that word because people are not projects. Southside Terrace, right, by my old neighborhood, like Miss Jackson, me, Miss Tracy can go in there and say, hey, y'all kids, come pick up this trash, because we have relationships with the kids. But, you know, Councilwoman Melton, Mayor Stocker, they can't go in the projects and say, hey, go pick that trash up. It's like, who are you? We don't have a relationship with you. So relationships are assets too. And when you cultivate those 5 assets together, it don't matter how much money in your pocket, because you can do those other 4 things that I was talking about before. Understand local process and government process. Develop relationships with these people out here making decisions for us every single day. You can build your capacity, and you can come together, create a meaningful sense of community ownership. And with the South Omaha Neighborhood Alliance and these other neighborhood alliances, that's what happens in those spaces every single month. And I'm a product of that. Even though I was going through all that other stuff, I still did those 4 things, and look at me now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to be the only Kimera Snipes running around. They probably, it's a lot of people probably don't want a bunch of Kimera Snipes running
That's
around.
a fact.
But
That's
just
a fact.
imagine if they had a whole
Right.
bunch. You know what I'm saying? So
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Look at that.
That's a fact, because when people like you, people like I run around and start addressing problems and coming up with solutions, people get real bothered by it because then they start asking, why weren't you doing this before? They put pressure.
You don't even have to fix the problem. All you gotta do is just tell the truth.
That's telling the truth makes these people so mad, because my dad's from Mexico, my mom's from here. I'm in the middle of Nebraska.
Okay, what part? Okay,
Nope.
okay.
Oh,
no.
we lost her.
I spent a lot of time in, I know she hopped off accidentally, but I spent a lot of time in Grand Island and South Sioux and Scotts Bluff over the last couple of years, 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually enjoy it out there. This I just happened to see it pop up, but I would love to connect. I've watched you and seen your work and appreciate you stepping up to run for office too in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Thank
I would
you.
always love to connect and watch this again and even hop on it if you want me to. And I know both of you, so
Yeah. Tommy and I have been a little bit more consistent lately with this, so yeah. Try to stream a few times a week.
This is really, really neat. Well,
are you ever
I'm
up in Lincoln?
Huh?
Are you ever up in Lincoln?
I come to Lincoln. Yeah,
okay,
I come to Lincoln for a lot of things, and actually I got to come down there too because my cousin is an NSP. So I'm about to send in my visitor form so I can go and visit my cousin too. So.
Okay, well, let us know. We can do a studio sit down and all that good stuff.
I sure will. I absolutely will. So let's stay connected.
Let's. All right.
Yeah.
I'll message you my number actually right now.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for having me on. I got to run in here with my teacher friend though, and not leave him hanging.
All right, no worries. You go out there and keep saving the world, Kimra. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for joining.
Y'all have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I know what happened to Mercedes.
I don't know. Maybe she'll hop back on in a little bit. But that was fun. That was really
that was fun. I see you over there.
In a little group together.
Cheesing my little log.
No, I mean, she's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, guys, Tommy has had quite the time, doing live streams. I remember when we were talking about doing this. He's like, it's I'm not a live streamer, I don't know too much about this. And then he'll text me and be like, hey, we should do an episode today.
I'm just asking if you're ever up for one. Yeah, it's really
I'm always up for one. Duh.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with her. Like that local politics is very much overlooked. And I like to tell people that we should be sending our most experienced politicians to city councils and our least experienced ones to Congress. And, I always get funny looks about that. And it's just like, well, that's where they need to learn and they need to build connections and stuff like that there in Congress. So I'd rather send, 25-year-old, 30-year-old to Congress and, somebody who's been in politics for 30 or 40 years to city council, because when it comes to like your life, your city council is doing more that affects you, especially day to day, than Congress is doing, but, it's all top down in our minds.
Yeah. Mercedes said her phone overheated.
No,
I told her that the link I sent her still works. So if she wants to hop back on, we'll have her.
But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
I was thinking about going into the next topic. I really wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
But if you had something else, let's
you go ahead, guys. Tommy has had thoughts about this.
It's been such a wild thing on the internet, like seeing this. So this guy gets assassinated. He's a healthcare CEO. He's arguably the CEO of one of the worst health insurance giants there is, because they just have like the number one rejection rate, over 33%. So more than every third claim is getting rejected, right? Even though people are paying them all this money and they're paying all this deductibles and premiums and all this other stuff. And in the end, like, they get denied. And here's the thing. They deny so much that they have to outsource the denying. They outsource like the denial process to a different company called EVI Corp. EVI Corp. Like, you can't make this up.
Wait, what do you mean they outsource the denial? Like, if they say something, tell somebody, sorry, we can't cover your, life-saving thing, we'll just tell somebody else to tell you that?
So I know a little bit about this because both my wife and my mother are both in the healthcare field, and they've over the years, like I've met some of their friends who worked in like medical billing departments and stuff. So what ends up happening is, well, first of all, a doctor in a medical setting is spending a lot of time filling out insurance paperwork, right, in order to get pre-authorizations or drugs or any kind of procedures like pre-approved, that sort of thing. So, but on the other end of the side is they also employ doctors and professionals who are doing all the administrative work, and it takes a lot of administrative effort to like disapprove insurance claims. So, I mean, that can be such an extensive thing, and because this company, United Health, like it seems their number one profit goal was to take in as much money as possible and reject as many claims as possible. I mean, like it's way above the industry average, over 2 times as much. So this administrative work, like they probably crunched the numbers and said it's more financial savvy of us to outsource that administrative paperwork and that administrative process to a different company, and they did. And this other company is called EviCorp. It's just one L away from Evil Corp. Like, come on. You know?
Dang, I didn't even think of that. Wow.
So, I mean, so this happens. This guy, it clearly wasn't just a random thing. This guy was lying in wait. If you watch I watched the video, you know, he was waiting for this guy to walk out.
I have not watched that video. Tommy keeps telling me I'm not watching that video. I can't watch that video.
It's not that gory, but yeah, I mean, like user discretion advised or viewer discretion advised. So anyways, like he walks out, he shoots the guy. His gun keeps on jamming for some reason. He's got a silencer on. I mean, he did some very subtle, like, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but some subtle mistakes and stuff. But like everybody was like, okay, this had to be planned. And then they find the shell casings and it says deny, depose. Okay. Deny, defend, depose.
Hey, really quick. I'm going to go put some sweats on because I'm freezing. You keep talking to the people.
Okay. So anyways, yeah, no, go ahead. So the shell casings, after they're doing the investigation, they find that the words deny, defend, depose are on the shell casing. So that now you know it was definitely for one reason. It was to get revenge. Probably this person who did this is probably like millions and millions of Americans who have gone through like these heartbreaking processes of having really, really needing healthcare, and then having their health insurance denied and having the procedures they need denied. Like it's definitely, it was pre-planned. This guy really did have a plan. I mean, the words on the shell casing, that's definitely, there's definitely a whole story to this that I kind of want to get to the bottom of it, you know, because like, you know, like you want to see this guy caught because you're not supposed to do that. But at the same time, it's like I totally understand the reactions we're getting online. Like, I mean, I don't think I'm mincing any words by saying that the reactions have been glee and indifference. And no, I'm serious. If you throw up if you look at that doc I put on there, I put a few things on there. If you look at the very bottom screenshot, you'll see like one of the reactions to this whole thing.
Tommy,
like, what?
I'm looking.
Scroll to the very bottom. Show the one at the very bottom. Like I was just putting this together in a haphazard state. That's the first one to start off with, because it's a very good indication of how the public took this.
So it says, we are deeply saddened. So this is a post from United Health Group that says, how do I...
Yeah, you should just show it if you can. I'm not really sure how that works, but I should just let everybody know that I might be grinning and smiling here, but it's because I'm nervous because I'm so conflicted about like this story, you know, because, you know, I'm somebody who say, you know, please try not to resort to violence. But I mean, it's more for selfish reasons, right? Like, don't resort to violence. In my head, it's not because it's never warranted. I mean, it is. At some point, violence is warranted. And you might go, oh my God, how dare you say that? But it's just like, well, think about the riots in the Warsaw ghettos. I mean, that's a perfect example of when violence was. But
okay, so we have a show doc where we kind of like lay out the stuff we're going to talk about and like background research. So Tommy threw this in there. as you can see, this is from United Health Group. This looks like a Facebook post. We are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. Brian was a highly respected colleague and a friend to all who worked with him. We are working closely with the New York Police Department and ask for your patience and understanding during this difficult time. Our hearts go out to Brian's family and all who were close to him. And look at all of the laughing reactions.
Just ratioed. And like some right-wing grifters were like trying to say, this is the left praising this, but it's just like, this is Facebook. This isn't exactly a bestowing of left-wing,
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like so this is Matt Walsh. This guy is one of the biggest right-wing grifters there is. And this is him trying to redirect working class anger that is directed at ruling class. And he's trying to redirect it and spin it back to, his whole little grift, trying to use race to divide us, right? And trying to keep working class people divided. And it's just this time it's obvious to me every time he says something, every time he opens his mouth, it's obvious what his grift is. But like, this is just so obvious this time that he's trying to just bring race into it to get everybody off of this whole, like, yeah, a ruling class guy got what he was coming to him and stuff, that sort of thing.
Dang.
But it's just like, this is a perfect encapsulation of right-wing media talking heads who are trying to control a narrative, trying to play a victim, trying to grift and use race to divide us and not have us like focus on economic issues, because economic issues and class issues are our number one problem. It isn't these like hot button issues. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this was just a perfect example of like the powers that be trying to like keep us not focusing on class issues. You know what I mean?
Mordecai Perry, what up? How are you doing? I miss seeing you too. I got to know her during the time of the protest, but
yeah. And you don't have to look at the other memes. I mean, like these were just like examples of how people are like reacting online. Like it's glee. It's absolute glee. And
okay, so let me talk to you about this. So there is this progressive host of a show called The Humanist Report. His name is Mike Figueredo. I actually, as you know, I sent him an email to invite him on to the show, but he hasn't read it yet. I keep checking to see if like the message has been read, but so I guess some like right-wing publication like kind of smeared him. I didn't go like deep into it, but like the reaction, as you were saying, was glee, and they were like, oh, this like crazy progressive like talk show host or whatever is like laughing about this. And I guess it was like a UK based outlet. I need to do my research and like go back and like look for sure, but it's wild because I guess people don't understand. Not saying that this glee and the laughing at this is, warranted, but our healthcare, like there has been a lot of stories of people on Twitter and all over the internet saying, oh, United Health denied this life-saving measure for my family member, or they denied this or denied that. So I don't think people realize like we've had some hard times here in the American health care system, and like places like the UK have universal health care. So I guess they don't understand that, like, for some people, they've been in a life or death situation because of this health company. I don't know.
They have. People have died. Millions have suffered because of this company. And, I don't think it's like full on glee, ha ha ha. I think it's gallows humor. And it's kind of a coping mechanism to, think about like the loved ones that we had to, watch, die or suffer because they didn't get, the health insurance or the health coverage that they needed. Oh, hey, Mercedes back.
We'll find out if I'm back.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite grainy. But to finish off my thought, it's like, I think that this is people like just using this as an outlet to let you know that we don't like this system. We're not satisfied with this for-profit system. We know it sucks. We don't like it. We're helpless to replace it with something else that we would like better. And I know conservatives, talking heads, they would say like, oh, you cite Canada or the UK, and it's like, look at their countries and also their health. Okay, fine. We can go into the quality of their healthcare systems, but like, go and ask them, would any of them want to switch what they have for the American system? And all of them, 100%. There won't be one person except maybe Kevin O'Leary who says they want our system instead. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's like it's such a great need. Nobody should be price gouging. I honestly think that we should not have for-profit health coverage in the United States, in any country. I mean, we are like only one of like the 33 or 34 developed nations, whatever definition that is. We're the only one without universal healthcare coverage, and it's just like we're also the richest one. So it's like you can't tell me we can't afford it.
It's wild.
We're paying for the most expensive option, the more expensive option versus like Medicare for all. So like anytime I come across a boomer who's always just like, well, how do we pay for it? It's like we're paying double what we should be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Health insurance is kind of just wild. Like, ever since I kind of became more so like self-employed, like people ask me like, what do you do for health insurance? I'm just like, well, I literally just pay for like my prescriptions and everything out of pocket. Like, I got to go to the dentist on Tuesday. Like, I'm paying like cash. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of just like pay as I go. And I saw something online. Somebody was like, people my age can't afford health insurance. So if we get sick, I guess I'll just die or, be unalived because like, what else am I going to do? When I used to work at this company. And if you met all the biometrics that they had, like if you were, depending on your age, if you were in like this certain weight category, if you weighed between this or your blood sugar was between this and like if you fit within these biometrics, then they would cover your health insurance premium, which was like the way that I had health insurance for like years because I was healthy enough to fit in these biometrics every year. So yeah. But we'll see because they want to get rid of the ACA too and, get rid of the healthcare.gov. And I still cannot believe that people do not know or do not understand that Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act are the exact same thing. Like, have you seen that video? One guy was like, I hope they got Obamacare, but they better not touch my Affordable Care Act or the ACA.
God, that can't be real. That has to be staged. Please, God.
No, it's not staged. It's real. It's real. People really think that this is what it is.
I'm just trying to cope here.
Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. And it's just mind-blowing to me that let me stop. Let me stop.
Is Mercy still there? Like, can you still hear us, Mercy?
I can hear you just fine, but the audio on my end is finally caught up, but it's like laggy. Okay. My laptop is like, hey girl.
What's your take on health insurance in America? Do you have a libertarian point of view on this?
I'm all for single payer. I believe that insurance has caused us to be where we're at now because of government intervention and how they've supported the insurance companies. I too pay cash for everything. I remember a time where you didn't need insurance to live still in Nebraska. So watching it change over my adult life has been very disheartening because I'm asthmatic. I have health issues that are pre-existing. And even in the 90s and early thousands, as a child with the health care and having state Medicaid, they didn't want a diagnosis anyway because of the implications with how insurance was then, because they could just deny you because you had asthma. They didn't want to help you. And now everybody can be saved for a price, and I'm still too poor to live. So it's a little disheartening being at risk, disadvantaged American right now. And don't even get me started on maternal death rates in America and the maternal care and how they force C-sections on you because they pay out more. So, I mean, the whole thing is no longer based on the Hippocratic oath of saving lives and treating patients. It's based on, I want to go to school so I can make money because that's what my parents told me to do. And that's what the institutions are telling me to do. So now I have all this debt and I don't actually care about people's lives. And I don't care about doing my job because I have malpractice insurance. And I don't care. I just want that money and the kickbacks from insurance companies. So, I mean,
I think the insurance, I have a lot of experience with, doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals. And I'll tell you that I think that hands down, it's the insurance companies who are the evil ones here, because they're essentially just greedy middlemen who get in between you and your doctor. And they build up like a group of insurees, and having, several thousand insurees paying you for insurance gives you like negotiating power. And you go to the medical company and you say, listen, I have 100,000 people that I represent. Now you give me a discount, or I'm not going to let them come to your setup. So what the medical companies have to do is, I mean, they have to just artificially inflate their prices, and that's why you have such weird prices all over the place. And then they give them a discount. So they, generally speaking, for example, like jack the price up twice as much, give them a 50% discount, voila. That's how stupid it is. But there's plenty of for-profit medical companies as well. But I mean, if it was just a single payer system, that's the negotiating power representing 340 million Americans. So you go to a company and say, I have 340 million Americans. You're going to give us a fair price or you're screwed. Like, this is the only game in town, bro. And that's what I want because of how simple it is, how much better it would be than this for-profit insurance. I think it's much better than even the public option, which the Democrats have tried to champion a long time ago. They don't talk about the public option anymore. But I mean, that's what it is. It's this greedy cartel. I mean, we can just talk about their practices and how they just, anyways.
When you have corporations that are given individual entity status, how the government views corporations as individual people, you get this kind of thing. But
Citizens United.
Woohoo! But going back to it, like I have a pretty good doctor here, and my dentist has their own like internal insurance kind of thing now. So we're seeing in rural areas a solution being created independently by doctors that are already practicing because it's so bad out here. I mean, even with insurance being accepted, Nebraska Medicaid has, I can't remember which subsidiary label they slapped on this specific network, but the only place Nebraskans in the 3rd district can get dental care is in Kansas. It's the only dentist in this area that takes Nebraskan Medicaid insurance for teeth for low-income people. And we're finding, because last year I worked with Community Action Partnership of Mid-Nebraska, Head Start. I was on the Parental Advisory Board and the Health Advisory Board. Because, screw the Libertarian Party, I'm going to focus on them kids. And and in that work, I really, really saw all of the gaps right now within medicine, within insurance, how desperate we are for people who are even practicing. I mean, I have a friend who has a daughter that goes into anaphylactic shock if she touches dairy milk. Cannot be around it, cannot touch it, cannot touch someone who's touched it. They have to live here in Kearney because Kearney's the only hospital between Omaha, Lincoln, and Denver that can address her child's health issues if she goes into anaphylactic shock. I have another friend whose daughter has hemophilia. She has to go to the Mayo Clinic, and Omaha barely knows how to deal with her child's health issue. And so now we're seeing these larger issues in rural parts of our state. So I'm assuming it's in other rural states as well. We have a true breakdown in medicine because of insurance, because of decades of brain rot and people leaving. And so honestly, like single payer, blessed to have that here. But that state answer is looking more and more viable because other countries are doing it and doing it well. Like Joe Jorgensen speak almost. Like if they can do it, why can't we?
Yeah, I grew up on Medicaid, and go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, it confused me too. As growing up on Medicaid and then having that supplemental Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield covered the first part, Medicaid paid the second part. You age out, you don't have insurance, you don't have any recourse. And we saw a lot of that, and I think are continuing to see it. The Affordable Care Act, making it so you're covered till 26, helped that gap. And I was definitely in that age group where that saved my life. But I was also welding at the time that implemented. So my out of pocket for my health insurance I was paying for tripled. We all got slid up to the next tax bracket, and we still had the same basic coverage. But it was odd needing the Affordable Care Act, but negatively being impacted by it because of the job I held. It's been a wild 15 years of American politics. Like, thanks, Obama.
Longer. longer. It's not just Obama. I mean, it goes all the way back to the Clinton era. I mean, it goes farther back than that, but like being somebody who was born in the 90s and somebody who hates Bill Clinton, like no, I do. If I've never,
Right?
I've
Yeah.
never,
Same.
It's
go ahead.
you guys, man. The conversations we have. I've heard Tommy talk about this before. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's it's just hating Bill Clinton is one of my special interests. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean, I was disappointed. I mean, I'm a Democrat, but I was disappointed with Obamacare. It was better than nothing, but it really fell short of what it could have been, because you know, insurance companies had a lot of influence over the process. They're the ones who made sure the public option didn't happen. They were able to pretty much make sure that the marketplace was pretty much bare bones offerings for people who couldn't afford
And
to,
then
you know, get
slapped a
private health insurance.
penalty on it. They slapped a penalty on it. That's what really made me mad. Is you made it mandatory.
Unenforceable.
Find
Yeah.
us. Oh no, they took it out of your taxes.
Yep.
They found a way to make it enforceable. Like, thanks.
But the Supreme Court struck that
Obama.
down, did they not?
They did what?
Well, didn't that get changed through the Tax and Jobs Act?
It did. It got changed within the last few years, so it's no longer fining you for it. But there was
Yeah.
a good window there where they got a lot of extra money for something I couldn't afford in the first place. Very
Oh.
model.
Yeah, go ahead.
To talk about medical bills really quick, one thing I guess people didn't know, that medical bills no longer show up on your credit report.
Oh yeah, wasn't that the legislation?
When did they
That
change
was-
that? What?
That was through the Biden administration. Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
so worried about other things. I missed that critical point of information. I needed
But-
that. Thank you.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, this is stuff they should have like talked about more, you know, like.
Well, oh
And-
my goodness. The breakdown of information sharing, it has been bad in the last few years. So it makes sense that that wouldn't be highlighted. Because me knowing that now, that opens up an entire avenue of things I couldn't do before because I have medical debt.
Mm. Let me just.
So
double-check.
yeah, I'm kind of getting brushed back up on this now. Like, it wasn't the courts that struck it down, and I'll get to like why there is no penalty anymore. But like I get the reasoning from it. Is the way I don't like health insurance, but like I get the basic premise of you got to get as many people into a pool as possible so that you can share costs, right? And if you have a bunch of people just saying, "Hey, I'm young and healthy, I don't want to have to pay this. I'm not going to go in there." All you're going to have to do is a pool of sick people, and the costs are going to be too high, and it's just going to be unprofitable, and the health insurance companies won't do anything with it. I get it. I mean, I get why we were going for an individual mandate, but the original individual penalty was $95 per adult, $47.50 per child. It was later changed, or actually, prices just went up. I forget by what metric they did, but eventually it topped out at $695 per adult, $350 per child, but had a maximum of $2,000 per family. But the reason why, and this is what I was confusing, it was actually eliminated with the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act,
Yeah.
the
that's-
Trump tax cuts.
yeah.
Which is, you know, I don't hate that part of it, but like that whole legislation was mainly just to give away to very wealthy people. But I mean, I get the premise of the individual mandate, that sort of thing. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't like the whole system altogether. Let's just get rid of it and get Medicare for all, single payer.
There's a lot of things I wish we could just rework right now.
Yeah.
Just take it back to Bill Clinton for a minute. So
Hold
I
back
grew up
to-
on Medicaid. We were on government assistance when we were kids because, you know, I had a single mother and a brother and myself. And Clinton, the thing about him is he came in pretending to be a liberal while also, I mean, he like pandered to liberals, but he supported a lot of conservative talking points and movements and platform issues. And like basically Bill Clinton spent the 90s just vilifying poor people. You know, he breathed life into this idea of welfare queens, even though he wasn't the first president to mention it. I mean, he breathed life into this misconception that people are living off the government in luxury and stuff like that. And he really vilified like single mothers. He vilified poor people in general and stuff. And that's why we got the harsh reforms that we got from the Clinton administration. And the thing was, is like it was fixing a problem that wasn't actually real, and it ended up hurting a lot of poor folks. Like in the end, like they could point to numbers and call it a success, but like what it effectively did is it just kicked people off, and it didn't do anything to help make their lives better. It made it worse. It didn't do anything to make people living in poverty better. It just made it worse. And that's why like living on Medicare sucked, because it's just like nobody, first of all, nobody would accept it.
Yeah.
Because all the red tape and all the things that came with those efforts that Bill Clinton breathed a lot of life into. And like there's one dentist in all of Lincoln, right? If we're talking Lincoln, that accepts Medicaid. And that person is just a saint. But like being poor sucks, y'all. Living at the poverty level is not comfortable. And like you don't get, when you're on assistance, like you don't get much more above the poverty line. It's mainly designed to keep you at the poverty line, because just getting there helps a lot and gives you a really good chance at getting beyond it. But like Bill Clinton, it just villainized poor folks in the 1990s. And like also, you know, tough on crime stuff. I absolutely hate the guy. And like I get weird look being in the Democratic Party talking about, I mean, he's still considered like this big figure in the Democratic Party. And it's just like, that guy is the worst. Like, have you ever read about his life? But you know, I'm considered kind of one of the weird Democrats that nobody
Didn't he like decline clemency for someone that was on death row so that he could prove he was tough on crime during his presidential bid?
Yeah, and it's worse than that description. So he was like, liberals, they dance like monkeys when it comes to Republicans. Like when Republicans accuse them of something, they go, "Oh no, Republicans will accuse them of like being soft on crime," and they'll be like, "No, we're not. We're not soft on crime." Instead of like turning it around or trying to change the conversation or control the narrative, they just do this brutal stuff. So when he was running in 1992, he was still the governor of Arkansas, and there was a man on death row, a black man, who I believe he murdered a police officer, but what he also tried to do was kill himself with a gun. He didn't kill himself, but he effectively lobotomized himself. And here in America, we talk a lot about cruel and unusual punishment when it comes to like the death penalty. And one of the agreed upon things is if you don't really understand what's going on, that's considered cruel, right? So people who are mentally ill or low IQ, you know, that sort of thing, we generally don't put them to death because they just don't understand what they were doing or what's happening to them. So this guy was on death row in Arkansas, and he was effectively lobotomized. He met that standard, right? And you would think that any Democrat would go, yes, okay. He says he doesn't know where he is. You've got several professionals saying that he doesn't understand what's going on because of the state he's in. And so Bill Clinton took time from his presidential campaign to make sure this person was put to death, like to battle all the court challenges and stuff. He closely monitored the whole situation while he was campaigning to make sure it happened, just to let everybody know that liberals weren't soft on crime. And effectively, I mean, it's basically like, if we can agree that somebody with low IQ or somebody who's mentally ill and isn't in control, doesn't understand what's going on, if we can agree that like they shouldn't have to be punished in that way, then Bill Clinton is a monster. I mean, but he's a monster for so many other things. And it's just like the fact that he's still invited to every national convention to speak on behalf of the presidential nominee to this day is still just, it's sickening. You know,
Mercedes, what's your take on that? Chime in.
Sorry.
I don't like Bill Clinton, so.
Yeah, I have a personal vendetta, so I could just keep going, but I won't.
Well, and my thing with Bill Clinton is, and this is just family thing, right? So my grandparents are my political molds and models, right? Like your elders are. And I grew up watching the news. They were very politically involved. And when Bill Clinton ran for office and was elected, they went from being Republicans to Democrat because they enjoyed his take on crime. So, yeah, just not a fan of Bill Clinton. No.
Yeah. More lies, more fear mongering, you know, tough on crime, the crime bill.
Yeah, that's what I
Just-
mean. It's no.
I mean, it's just like, if you want to look at probably in the last, I don't know, 40, 50 years, what president has been the most harmful on Black and brown communities, it's Bill Clinton. It's Bill Clinton. And like, believe it or not, like, I don't like the guy, but you got to give credit where it's due. The First Step Act, I know he wasn't the main person on it, but he did support it. It was a very popular bipartisan bill. The First Step Act was a good step in the right direction when it came to criminal reform. I mean, I think we still have mandatory minimum sentences from the Clinton administration, right? We still have just really harsh penalties for people who are, you know, the crime of being addicted, the crime of addiction. And this is coming from Democrats of the 90s. And it's like, we still haven't really like thought about that legacy. And when, you know, during the campaigning, when Obama was chiding Black males about being sexist towards Harris, I was thinking like, well, you know, gender does play a role for sure, but let's think about the legacy of Democratic policies from the 90s, right? Those young males have more experience with the fallout from those policies than they do the civil rights era. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't remember the civil rights era as vividly as they do the policies of the 90s. So like, when Obama's chiding people, it's just like, that is just the most wild take, because remember, like, Black and brown males, like, they experienced very harsh treatment because of Democratic spearheaded policies of the 90s.
Damn.
Sorry, I can talk.
No, you're good.
I don't like Bill Clinton. I don't like 1990s Democrats.
I mean, the You Go Girl movement was good though. Hillary, she being married to Bill, she now in hindsight, now that I'm older and I'm a grown up, and that You Go Girl thing really did a lot of good stuff for young women in the 90s. My first question though was, why did you not leave your husband when he publicly humiliated you? And then I realized, oh, it's spite. She wants to keep the power. She wants to work against him in places because women were still fighting for any sort of things during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All the benefits that come with being, married to a president.
If Hillary Clinton was going to divorce Bill for humiliating her, she would have done it before he was Arkansas governor. I mean, he didn't start being a terrible human being when he became president. I mean, he had so many scandals while he was Arkansas governor and probably before that. And unfortunately, Hillary did partake in these smear campaigns against his mistresses. And that's another thing when you get into his personal life, like his mistresses, you know, he'd have his fun with them. But then as soon as they became a political ticking time bomb, he would use his political apparatus to like destroy them. And she went along with it, not as much as him and his apparatus did, but she went along with that. But yeah, I mean, it's the same. You're right, like power. But you know, I'd get yelled at a lot if my Democratic friends heard me talk about Hillary Clinton. I get a little more leeway with Bill Clinton, but not so much Hillary.
Well, I mean, we can't really say anything bad about Hillary because I mean, I value my life, and that.
Oh, come on.
No, not that.
I know you're joking, but
Clinton, yes, no.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah. I love being a libertarian. Sometimes the conspiracies are great.
I mean, when it comes to Bill Clinton, you don't have to be a libertarian. You just have to be a decent person and understand who he was.
Fair.
Know anything about him, like for real. Instead, when he's given that speech at the DNC in 2016. And it's a nice speech. It makes you feel good. It kind of reminds you of Grandpa saying something nice about Grandma. But this guy's a monster. Like,
no, he's a walking skeleton and needs to stay off camera. So
he was like, it was just like I was disassociating because he's doing all these whimsical, nice things that everybody is eating up in the speech, and then I just know how awful of a human being he is, and how like a lot of people don't really remember that stuff. You know, so
somebody once said too, I mean, like to ascend to the office of the presidency, like rarely, if ever, is it a good person. Like by the time you've gotten to that level, you've already, done some things that are very, very bad to, continue to climb up the levers of power or
Mhm.
the ladder of power. Geez, I don't know. I would like to say that.
I can only think of one.
Who?
Jimmy Carter.
I was just
But
going to say Jimmy
unfortunately-
Carter.
But unfortunately, he was a terrible president. And probably because he was an outsider.
It's not that he was a terrible president. It's that he was surrounded by terrible people. And there's
I
not
would
much you
also
can do
say-
in DC when you're already trapped.
I would also say that, I mean, he was an outsider. He was his story sounded a lot like Obama's. Like he
Yeah.
came in and basically forced his way in, and he used the Iowa caucuses to like gain this steam to get in there, just like Obama. But unlike Obama, once he got in, he never was able to get the Democrats on his side, to like help, like actually help him in the legislation with legislation and stuff.
There was a lot of corruption
Yeah.
during that time as well. I mean, right now we're mirroring that time in politics almost exactly. Right down to foreign powers refusing to declare ceasefires to help the person they want to win. I loved Jimmy
hostage
Carter.
situation, the Iranian hostage situation. He's a good
Yeah.
man. He's just didn't have a good
And that
presidency.
was used against him, and he lost his election to Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Here we are today.
Right back around to that nice little plaque. I
mean,
wasn't proud of.
It sucks to say that like Lyndon LBJ was probably one of the most effective political leaders in modern politics, and he's a horrible person. Like he was a master of the Senate before, he's president and vice president and stuff like that. He just reading about what he was able to accomplish legislatively. But then also it sucks to know that somebody who's most effective is also somebody who's quite dishonest. But I mean, he helped us with the Civil Rights Act. I don't know, but I can only think of one guy one good person who became president. It's Jimmy Carter.
Do you want to know something crazy? John Quincy Adams went back as a congressman from Massachusetts after his presidency. And somebody said that once. Someone I know, Majee Miller Jenkins, I'm sure you recognize her name, but talked about like how, why is it kind of just like the presidency and that's it, and you don't do anything after besides write books, maybe get a podcast now, I mean, in modern times, but like do some speaking engagements, stuff like that. Like, why not get back into like the actual legislating in politics instead of just being a political player on the outside or inside?
Maybe it's because after you're president, going back to normal governance, no matter what your position is in your community, people are going to remember that you were the president. So it almost turns into an authoritarian kind of local system just because you were the president, and anything you say or the exact opposite. I mean, trying to get hired with that much qualifications in America is almost impossible. You're overqualified. Sorry. And then the security aspect with it, after you are president, you have Secret Service for life. It's cheaper to keep presidents shaking hands and kissing babies than it is to let them do their job as politicians if they choose to. I would love to see Obama get back in to any sort
Not
of.
me.
I would, but I'm a fan of Obama.
People are saying that like if Trump,
fangirl, but I like Obama. I love how he ran his political career. I just do.
I heard
Voted for him
that
twice. I don't regret it, but I have a laundry list of.
I mean, I'm proud to have been an 18-year-old senior caucusing for the Young Democrats of Buffalo County against Hillary Clinton for Obama. I'm proud of that.
I mean, at the time he was. I mean, that was such a. I mean, I still think of 2008. It was just like, what was that?
We did the thing.
Like
no pressure or anything.
Well, no, it was just
pretty
like
much had to win that one.
He was such a force. Like he was this anomaly. And it was like you could feel that energy.
Yeah,
that energy everybody had.
He took us with him. He knew how to engage us.
Yeah. But the thing is, and this is probably not a popular opinion in the Democratic Party. I don't think he understood the mandate he got. Right. Like he got an FDR mandate. Like
when he first was elected,
2008, and like
dude, they had 60 senators. They had
59. But for a brief moment, they did have 60 senators, but he couldn't beat the health insurance giants. He couldn't beat all kinds of. I mean, I remember when the first lady takes on like a kind of little project. So Michelle Obama, she decided, kids are unhealthy. We're gonna talk about eating healthy, because literally when it comes to overweight and health and like that, like 3/4 of it is nutrition. Only like 25% is like working out. Like if you can figure out how to eat right, you're going to go a long way. Right. So that was her pet project, teach kids to eat healthy. And then the food lobbies came in, the sugar lobby came in, and they were like, if you don't get her to shut up and change to something else, we are going to destroy you in Congress. And then what did it turn into? It turned into, hey, 60 minutes of play. Let's do a little bit of exercise, y'all. And it was just like, oh. So I mean, but that's the thing is like, go ahead.
I will say when Michelle came through with that initiative, it did wonders for our clubs and our schools, because we kept selling the candy bars that they said that the school was not allowed to buy for us anymore. So
I thought you were going to say something positive.
I know it was positive, capitalism for the win, but also that was rough.
Y'all know that like companies pay schools to let them have vending machines, right? Like try getting rid of a vending machine.
Oh, they did exactly. They couldn't get rid of the vending machines. All the options just changed.
Yeah, and if you really pushed it, if a school board really pushed to get rid of a vending machine, you would see a huge backlash from those vending machine companies, those candy companies and stuff. And that's
it's all about branding. It's all about that money, honey.
That it can claw its way down to local politics like that is what's just so disgusting. But no, I mean,
e-commerce in our public education system. I love it.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, my camera follows me. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. These are AI webcams.
But yeah, I mean, just to finish the topic, like I kind of look back and I think that Barack Obama didn't understand the mandate he had. I don't understand why he kept on trying to play nice with Republicans for so long. And by the time he realized it was never going to happen, they were never going to give him the bipartisan wins that he wanted, because he really wanted to have that feel good bipartisan stuff, By the time he realized it was not going to happen, it was too late.
So there's a wild Frontline documentary on Nancy Pelosi called The Power of Pelosi. And it's talking about how Obama wanted to work with Republicans, but Nancy, she knew better or something like that, and knew that
probably
there's no way that this is going to work. And yeah, like you said, he was given a mandate, like an actual one, not like what we just saw, but it wasn't like a fake one, but
it was real. And people don't understand that FDR was so popular that people wanted him to be a dictator, not like the dictator you're used to, but people didn't care what Congress said. People didn't care what the Supreme Court said. If FDR wanted it, they wanted it too. And they were
good with FDR for life. They really, really were. And I lost my train of thought. I was going to add something. God bless America.
People did say if Trump tries to run again for a third term, Obama should throw his hat in the ring and run against him.
No, it's not. It was. I mean, listen. If Obama
Tommy hates that idea.
if Obama and Trump are running again, that is the time people need to rise up and say no, because if they're gonna break the Constitution here so clearly and blatantly, they're not gonna follow the rules or the law, whether it's Obama or Trump.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, if they get away with a third term, then who was the only three-term president? Was it FDR?
FDR. And that's why they passed that.
That's why they changed the law. 12 years was too long.
And it was George Washington, obviously, who set the precedent of just serving 2 terms and then stepping down, so it was kind of just this unspoken rule, I guess, for a while, until
for a long time.
Oh, shoot. We actually need to, regulate this so that we're not stuck with
someone like that. Honestly, if they could have figured out how to weaken at Bernie's FDR, people would have been like, I'm okay with it. He was so popular. It's ridiculous. And there's some things that I don't like that I don't like that he did, obviously, because he did behave as a dictator with Japanese internment camps, right? Like there are some things that he did were pretty wild, but he was so popular and had such a mandate that nobody cared. Even the Supreme Court was like, no, that's constitutional, throwing citizens in internment camps without due process. It's like, what? Jeez.
Dude, they're talking about that now, like for this next administration. Trump 2.0,
Immigrants.
as I like to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, I don't know. Okay, so I've been listening to like a lot of like podcasts and things like that, and people are just like, these cabinet picks, probably not the best picks, but we shouldn't freak out, right? Like we shouldn't cry wolf, because when it's actually time to cry wolf, people will be desensitized to the whole thing.
I've been saying that.
Yeah, Tommy has been saying that. And so I guess I'm just kind of nervous too, because like, what if people just continuously go along with it? And I've heard the argument of like, oh, the podcast bros are gonna, stand up to Trump if he does this, and I'm just like, why would, how could Joe Rogan reel him in?
Dude,
Do
Joe
you know what I
Rogan
mean?
has become such a little, oh my God.
He would just be like, we're really banking on the fact that Joe Rogan and the podcast bros will be the ones to rein in Donald Trump, the people with no actual like governmental power.
I'm trying to come up with a PG-13 way of.
I could understand people. I could understand like the sentiment of like, the Supreme Court will handle it if the Supreme Court wasn't stacked, like, because that would be like an actual like concrete like check and balance.
I mean, Joe Rogan has become such a talking mouthpiece for Trump. Like he's just completely doing revisionist history on Donald Trump.
Yeah,
on his podcast.
Apparently, he's about to like set up shop down there at Mar-a-Lago and just like do podcast episodes from there, and like Trump will pop in from time to time. He's pretty much become like somebody said state media for.
No, he is, and like he's just completely misremembering everything about Donald Trump.
Yeah. And he was talking about how like Tim Walz is such a liar and how he was about to be the vice president and we couldn't have somebody like him who was such a liar. Let me hold your hand while I tell you this.
No, I mean, I don't really, I used to watch Joe Rogan a lot. He used to have really great interviews. And at the beginning of the pandemic, he had a great interview with a virologist.
Yeah.
And that Joe Rogan versus the Joe Rogan today, completely different people. And he's such a stooge for Trump now. Even though he used to support Bernie Sanders. I mean, but there is a good little thing to think about there, to talk about there. There's a whole episode we could cover on that. But he used to be Medicare for all. He used to support Bernie Sanders. He had Bernie Sanders on his podcast. And now he's just completely lying about Trump's past on his podcast to the benefit of Trump. So
very irresponsible. Chime in, Mercedes. What do you think?
Oh, good Lord. Well, I don't know how to put this. We are aware that Russians have influenced talking heads, correct?
Yeah. Dave Rubin and Tim Pool.
Yeah. And I mean, you'd be surprised at how far that goes, because when you look at the disinformation campaign on how that information travels, Joe Rogan is a victim of all of that vis-a-vis Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He just is. He's not just a Trump propaganda talking head. He is, and they're all mouthpieces for the Kremlin. And that's one thing that we don't say enough out loud. And
I mean, yeah, he definitely floats a lot of Kremlin misinformation talking points. Yeah.
So much. And that's the one thing that's been really quiet is we're not talking about a lot of stuff right now. I feels very important. And, we're just all just keeping calm and carrying on about all of the things all at once that are happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you mentioned Trump and Mar-a-Lago and Joe Rogan, that cued me of there's been drone sightings in New Jersey and around Mar-a-Lago again. And they're telling locals to report it to the FBI. And it's just, all of this is just, in the words of another podcaster, it's clown world. It's just crazy right now. And just focusing on Nebraska and Pillen and what they're doing here in lockstep with Trump. So like with the ICE camp, like with ICE camps, with internment camps, with Japan. I'm sorry, the rumors of denaturalizing citizens and throwing us all in camps again. Like, we
Yeah.
already know that women were being sterilized against their will at ICE camps in Georgia. Like, we already had
Yeah.
concentration camps, and now they want to take it a step further. And when you look at the breakdown of statistics of voters for Trump this year, a large number of votes came from the Latino community. Like, my father is a Latino for Trump, and I'm like, what? Okay, because you're the naturalized citizen here. He's talking about deporting, Dad. Like,
Does he
what?
believe that? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? I'm curious. Does he believe that, or does he think it's hyperbole?
About what?
I mean, denaturalizing and like deporting.
They just don't talk about it. They don't believe it's going to happen to them. They just are like, whatever, it's never going to happen. The Constitution. I'm like, yeah, the Constitution. Like, cool, but we're at that battle where you voted for someone who wants to send you back to Mexico. He is the person, like, he's talking to us directly, Dad. Why would you vote against your own self-interest?
So the reason why a lot of us believe that the Hispanic population voted in droves for Donald Trump is because of the exit polls that came out right after the election, or literally on the night of the election. But I mean, like, exit polls are notoriously bad.
Yes.
And you always have to wait for the revised figures. And like, yeah, a good number of Hispanic people did trend harder towards Trump, but majority of them still voted for Harris. And it wasn't like even 50-50. It was like something like 60% of Latino men voted for Harris. In the end, it is the same group it's always been. It's white folks who pretty much put him over the top. I know what the exit polls said at the beginning.
Even like, oh, like 60% voted for Harris, 40% did not. So it's like, still.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is, like, it's the same thing when you're going to the black community and telling them, why aren't you voting for Harris harder? When you're going to the Hispanic community and saying, why aren't you voting for Harris harder? It's like, well, why don't you go talk to the white folks? Look how hard they're voting for him. And by the way, there are more of them. Okay. So when are they going to get their turn?
Honestly, maybe my dad's just scared not to vote for Trump because we are we're in Trump land out here. We are. And maybe it is a fear thing. Maybe it's abundance, so we say safe. Because, I mean, I understand, like, Hispanic culture with Spanish colonization and just how it is, it's white people stuff too. That's the best way I could say it. It's the same ideological belief, just in a different language. And
yeah, I feel like even like the Sunnis community, like, it's very conservative. I feel like a lot of, like, you know, other cultures are very conservative. Doesn't necessarily mean they vote conservatively, but like for us, I was telling Tommy before, like, conservatism is kind of just like the core values and beliefs and stuff that you're taught at home, which I guess isn't that by definition. But I mean, like,
fair.
Our culture, and there are certain things that you do in like the South Sudanese culture. You know, the way you treat like your family, your neighbors, you know, how you treat your elders. Like, there's just like a lot of like cultural norms that we have that are conservatives in our culture. I mean, now like it's different, but you know, you had to know how to speak your tribal language or Arabic, like, growing up. So I speak 2 dialects of Arabic, you know, like, that was always like hammered in, like, always remembering your culture, where you came from, things like that. It's just like all of that. But I don't know. And so, like, in religion too is like a really big part of our community, you know, like a lot of people are very close in their faith and stuff. And that's just how it is. But yeah, so it's so wild for me to see like what conservatism is from a South Sudanese perspective and see what it is from like an American perspective, because it's like misaligned. You know what I'm saying? Like, you said your family's Latino, so like you know what I'm getting at.
I just don't know how to articulate. Like, our conservative values are not the same conservative. Like, yes, I get 100% what you're saying. No, because I'm considered liberal in my family because I'm okay with X, Y, and Z. But when I went to the Reno Libertarian Convention, I realized I might be a little bit conservative. So it's, yes, I understand what you're saying completely.
I mean, like, you can't leave home until you're married, like like things like that. Like, it's just it's just-
like you good. It's like we are Christian. I am
Mhm.
Catholic. I am not practicing Catholic, but Catholic. And so with that kind of religious conservatism, and not quite towards wearing a habit, but if I wanted to cover my hair, it'd be appropriate kind of conservative religion. So yeah, I mean, when I hear American conservative values and that neo-Christian belief system, I do double take. I'm like, what? This is not conservatism. This is fascism. Y'all drink the Kool-Aid. I know it was made here, but please don't drink it.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was a kid growing up, being a conservative meant small government, which to me should be like government stays out of your life,
Yeah.
which sounds good to me. And then the economic part of it is like fiscal responsibility. How is that not convincing to anybody? But that's not what it is in real life, American conservatism. But anyways, I wanted to share something with y'all. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is revised figures after the election.
Ooh,
Central
please.
Americans. So Central Americans voted for Trump. 36% of them voted for Trump. Puerto Ricans, 37% voted for Trump. Mexican Americans, my people, 33%. So they were the ones who voted for him at the lowest rate.
Oh, thank God.
Cuban
That makes me feel
Americans.
better. Thank you. Thank you.
Cuban-
Oh, God.
Cuban Americans, 58% for Trump. And like Cubans, like I get it. Ronald Reagan, you know what I'm saying? And
Cuba.
and it wasn't like, and then there was some notable like regional shifts, like Hispanics who were mostly Hispanics at the Texas border, for instance, who are mostly Mexican American descent, that sort of thing. They voted for him in droves in those areas. But for the most part, like if you don't count the Cubans, only like 2/3 voted for Harris. So don't blame us. Blame the Cubans. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, fair. Let's do that.
Well, that's the thing. They're talking about how Miami is about to be ground zero for this mass deportation like site, which has a huge Cuban population.
Yeah.
Cubans ain't going anywhere though.
Are there
They're
Russian
Americans.
subs around Cuba right now too? Like that's what I mean is we forget that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Geopolitics.
That's fun to talk about.
Geopolitics.
You think Cubans aren't going anywhere?
No, not the Cubans that are in America.
Nope.
Listen, they are going to be Republican through and through until they die. You know what I'm saying? It's all because of Reagan.
They have that ultra
MAGA?
nationalism. Wow, that was a hard word to remember.
Okay, so like I could go all day about how I don't like Ronald Reagan. I really could. But if you go to East Europe, you visit East Europe, there's Reagan statues all over the place.
Seriously?
Because he's seen as this figure who really took on communism. And they have a point. And that's why Cubans vote Republican, is because of Reagan. And because a lot of them fled, communist Cuba. And they're descendants of people who fled communist Cuba. We also had the wet foot, dry foot policy. If you're a Cuban who made it to American shores, you are an American now. And so,
because they're able to be naturalized within like a year, right?
No, I think as soon as they hit the shore. I actually don't know the full ins and outs of wet foot, dry foot. It's been a while, but yeah, I mean, Ronald Reagan is the reason. I mean, like I know a lot of elder Vietnamese people who will always vote Republican because of Ronald Reagan. Like he really was like this leading figure against communism. And you might want to debate. I mean, I know a lot of my Democratic friends, a lot of my liberal friends want to debate that, but like, let's go to East Europe. Let's go look at all the Ronald Reagan statues that are everywhere.
Let's go on your dime. I'm
just saying, man. It's. I never really thought about it until I was just visiting East Europe, and I was like, "There's a Ronald Reagan statue." And then I go to this other country. There's a Ronald Reagan statue. In this other country, Ronald Reagan statue, and it's just like, why are there so many Ronald Reagan statues here? And then you talk to a local, and they tell you because he defeated communism, and it's like, well, I think he said mean things to them in the camera, but still, you get the reputation.
Mercedes.
Ronald Reagan.
Sorry.
No, I was just speaking to my boyfriend, who is known about this stuff, about the Cuban citizenship thing. And so now I'm Googling what we discussed because I want to make sure that it's not wrong. Because allegedly, Cuba and the Dominican Republic are technically viewed by the US as one thing, and Dominican Republic's ours. So when Cubans get here by proxy of the Dominican Republic, they are citizens. I need to Google it because I'm like, okay, that sounds right, but that sounds like overreach. And so now I'm doing the research because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because it sounds right, but just because it sounds good doesn't make it the truth.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. You were right, Jazari, by the way. It was if they reached American soil, they got to apply for legal residency a year after the fact. They got to stay and then apply. So you were right. And the wet foot
Thank you.
reference is if they're intercepted at sea, wet foot, they get sent back to Cuba, but Cuba and America had an agreement that they wouldn't be prosecuted, which I'm sure they didn't prosecute them on paper, but you know.
Yeah, anybody that's left after Castro's ascension in 1959 were seen as fleeing political prosecution and generally allowed to stay. In 1966, Congress passed the Cuban Adjustment Act, which allowed Cubans to get green cards after being in the U.S. for 2 years.
Yeah.
Or to reduce to a single year. Okay, yeah.
So, okay,
So,
this
yeah,
is
just
gonna.
re-saying what you said. Yeah.
So this might sound extremely ignorant, but like, so that is all fine and dandy, but then Republic or right wing like talking heads say that the temporary protective status that Haitians were granted is somehow not okay.
Yeah, it's hypocrisy.
Like, oh, they're
it's-
actually illegal immigrants. They're only here because they allowed them to be here, which
I mean, what they're saying is they're illegal immigrants because the law that allows them to be here legally is not good. And it's just like, well, they're legally here. That's what you
okay.
just said.
So if people said that the law that allowed the Cubans to be here is not good,
I agree with you. Unfortunately, it was the policy was ended in 2017.
Yeah, it was.
And it was ended by Barack Obama as part of his normalization efforts with Cuba.
Yeah.
And they never put it back in place.
2017.
Yeah, January 2017. Like before he left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was about to say, whoa.
Haiti's another thing because it's like we keep on toppling their government.
And people
Like,
don't talk about that.
Just a few years ago was the last time we did it. We basically picked who was going to be the leader. And then we say Haitians need to leave. They need to stand on their own. They need to figure out their own country. It's like, well, I agree. Like people need to figure out situations in their own countries. But like if America's going in and destroying their country and their political system, I think maybe we should take their refugees. It's like, you don't like refugees? Stop meddling in other people's countries.
But we're just so
Okay.
good at it.
No,
Well,
we're not.
Well, and that's the thing. People think that like, oh, these people keep coming here. I'm like, do you really think that somebody left the beaches of Belize to come and, live in Kansas?
Just cause, yeah.
Just because, I'm going to leave this beautiful, beautiful, coastal country
Mm.
to just go,
I don't know.
live
No.
in Kansas.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you don't want refugees, asylum seekers, and stuff like that, maybe not destabilize entire regions of the world. It's my wild take. So, Haitians, you should stay here as long as we keep on ruining your country or keeping your country ruined, whatever.
That's crazy.
So, what y'all got going on this weekend? I got to get going soon.
Same. I got to go to my cousin's basketball game here shortly.
Yeah.
Same.
Got
I
Husker.
need to actually eat.
Husker volleyball is on tonight, 7:00. Yeah.
Okay. I don't watch volleyball.
Okay.
I don't either.
Every time I'm watching I'm doing politics and thinking about volleyball. Here's a fun fact. Osama bin Laden absolutely loved volleyball, right? Because he's really tall, in desert countries, you could imagine, right? And there was another terrorist who was also like really tall. And they were like not allowed to be on the same team when they played volleyball. This is just wild because it's like, it sounds like such a normal thing, but then it's about Osama bin Laden. By the way,
whoa, Osama bin Laden was reportedly 6'5"?
dude, he was tall.
Well, what?
And by the way, they found They found like
Wow.
they found a lot of stuff on his hard drives when they assassinated him and brought all that detail. They found Nebraska volleyball videos of Nebraska volleyball on hard drives, on Osama bin Laden hard drives,
No, don't
I
tell me
gotta-
those
I gotta
things.
look
That's
along
too
with-
real. That's too
along with
real.
like Charlie bit my finger and all this other stuff. All these like
He
early
was
YouTube, all these
fucking
early.
internet, bro. Excuse my language.
Dude.
I'm sorry.
I'm telling you, man, like it's just wild when you hear these little things that kind of humanize them,
I don't
and you're
like
like, you liked volleyball?
Nebraska volleyball. That's too close to home.
Yeah,
That's
you
too
gotta
close.
know.
I don't like
I mean,
that.
listen. One of these days, I'm gonna stick my foot in my mouth and talk about like the controversy of women's sports. But women's volleyball is one of those few sports that I think is more exciting than the male counterpart sport. You know what I'm saying? I try watching male volleyball, and it just for some reason it just does not hit like women's volleyball does. I have no idea why.
Is it the same as like you can't watch women's basketball because it doesn't hit the same as men's basketball?
Maybe, but it just defies logic because, like, generally speaking, people will tell you that like men's sports is more exciting because of the intensity and the the strength and the I don't know
The
like
violent
how
aspect
violent
of it.
how violent it can get. Even though like, dude, women's MMA and boxing, holy jeez, a lot of those matches turn really bloody really fast.
Yo, that one fight that Jake Paul hosted, those two.
Oh, the undercard.
Yeah, those two.
dude.
Those two. That woman matchup was much
The
better
lady
than
fight.
that. Yeah, that was better than the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah,
Yes,
that was
I
the
mean,
best
with
part.
It was a real rematch. It was authentic.
She had her eye cut. I was like, oh Lord,
Dude,
so
just-
somebody.
just-
I
everywhere.
can't believe they let her go on with that. Usually fights are called when you get that kind of a gash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad
Everything-
I fell asleep during it though.
I enjoyed it until I looked and I saw Greg Abbott sitting in the front row looking up at the ring like this. I'm just like, why does this have to happen in Texas? But really quick, Tommy. So they found on his hard drives, according to ABC News, movies like Ants, Cars, and Resident Evil, as well as video games such as Super Mario Bros. And Final Fantasy 6. Or 6. VII? 5. No. 7?
7.
7.
VII 7.
Yeah, it's 7.
Dang.
How many times a day do you think about the Roman Empire?
Oh my God. Well, that's me this week. Actually, I have SPQR by Mary Beard right here. So
Everybody, Tommy is very proud of his bookshelf behind him. So
I've read most of these books.
Wait, you keep your books on shelves? What kind of
Yeah,
organization is that?
it's for aesthetic. more than
yeah, so
anything.
we're gonna be transparent. Tommy has was talking about getting his setup right, so I told him he should use that paint color, and he
Yeah.
wanted to have a shelf with books because
It looks very
'cause he's in-
professional. It does. It looks nice.
These are, I mean,
Better
these are
than my
really good books.
kitchen.
Look on Lincoln. I'm just worried this shelf is gonna fall off because I don't know how good of a job I did. So
Never doubt
Tommy
your
is-
craftsmanship. Just go with it until you have to fix it, okay?
yeah,
Professional welder.
my wife is the man of the house when it comes to the handiwork. I'm not afraid to admit
Seriously?
it. Oh yeah,
I went
she
to
grew up
school-
with a father.
Oh,
Go ahead,
oh,
Mercedes.
I'm a certified welder by trade. That's what I went to
Yeah.
college for.
Oh wow.
Politics is a byproduct. So no, just go with it. Just go with it.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't really care. She's the one who's like always into the home projects, and I'm like, I like my house. I like it. It's I grew up in a house with poor insulation, so this
Oh, same. I grew up poor too. I did not.
Dude,
chime in
it's
on
like
that part. There's too much trauma.
this
Um,
house stays warm in the winter. What do I need to fix?
Nothing. You're good. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. My basement. I live in a 1930 home, and I've had 2 floods in the basement, and that's where my office setup historically
Oh.
has been. So we're at the end of the third remodel, and so soon.
How long have you lived there?
We bought this house in 2019.
And you're on your 3rd. Wow.
Third, yeah. So this one time, this house was built when plumbing was still, evolving. And so in the basement, there's like a sewage ejector because there's a pit. And this house historically had been a rental. And so when we purchased it, we knew we were going to have to do updates. But this update requires a mound to be knocked out and plumbing to be replaced and the pit to be filled. And it's just going to be like a $10,000 homeowner project. So boys and girls, you can own your home too and then have to fix your plumbing. So, I mean, yeah, so it's just, it just, things happen, and it's an old home, and my office has historically been in the basement, and we're still changing. Yay.
So I live in a really, really old loft apartment, and it's very like, it's really nice, but it has a lot of character, but it's like old. And so like it's not very well insulated. So it's just like, I don't even know if it just feels like there's just plaster in the walls. Like this wall right here is like an exterior wall. And like it feels extremely cold. So I don't know if there's like insulation there. I mean, the outside of the building is brick, so
it probably is just an empty air gap. And okay, cellulose insulation. So they used to hang blankets inside for that reason. That's what the tapestries were for. It's drafty.
Damn. Well, geez, I don't know. Like the heat will literally kick on like every 10 minutes and stuff, and then I go to like somebody else's house and it's just like nice and cozy, and I'm just like, I don't know.
See, we still have the Lacton plaster, the horsehair plaster and everything. So it's an old Sears model 1923 home. In Google it.
I will always admit that even though I did work hard and I caught some breaks in life, I married into the upper middle class. not even gonna lie about it. The reason why I live in a nice house, the nicest house I've ever lived in, is because I married my way into it.
Look at you marrying.
Y'all should try it.
Goals.
What's that?
I should try it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my good golly wally do.
I'm just kidding.
Was it John Kerry? Senator John Kerry married the heiress to the Heinz family fortune, the ketchup company. There you go.
Wait, John Kerry from Omaha or Lincoln, Nebraska?
No, that's Bob Kerry. I'm talking John Kerry, Secretary of State. Senator John Kerry was the nominee in 2004.
The banana guy.
There you go, man. Donald Trump was born in a very, very wealthy family. You know,
don't do that. Marry for love. Don't do that.
No, I married for love. I got lucky because the love also came with upper middle class.
Okay. Yeah, no, I grew up with upper middle class grandparents to a 16-year-old mother. So when she left the house, we were poor, but we had access to cable when we were at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Yeah, it was a treat. So,
dude, it's wild. Like, I think about how like I used to do homework in the McDonald's parking lot because we didn't have Wi-Fi.
Oh, I did that in college. Yeah.
Well, this was like my first year in college, like when I was going to Southeast Community College here, and I'm just like, it's so
fancy college.
It's so wild to see, you know. I've definitely been, you know, blessed in my life. So
same. I've had a lot of good guardians.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Because I went to Northeast Community College.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is luck. Go ahead.
Warren Buffett has entrusted his wealth giveaway to his kids, and they are probably going to be giving it out within the state of Nebraska. So, Nebraska.
I think he's pledged to give most of his fortune away when he dies, didn't he?
Well, yes, but the kids are managing the asset division. And so they're all about helping Nebraskans, grassroots efforts.
Good.
Like
Nebraska first.
From Nebraska first. Yes, Warren Buffett is very, like, I know we poo-poo on rich people, but Warren Buffett's that quiet, dad almost at this point.
I mean, I could tell you some stories that might make you go a little like,
no, you leave Warren Buffett out of this because I'm out here.
I'll leave him alone.
Yeah.
I'll leave him alone.
I'm too far away to hear about the personal stuff.
Mr. Buffett, if you are watching this.
Yes, Warren Buffett and friends.
We are really, Warren Buffett and all your friends. We are
not Bill Gates.
I mean,
just throw a few million for this show. Throw a few million over here, and we will give you the best live stream independent media show that you have ever seen. You know, I know you like
saw-
investing in local journalism. Please help out Mr. Buffett if you are watching this.
I saw him in a cafe in, I want to say, northeast Omaha once, and I slowly backed away because, like, I don't know, but it seems like the people in that area of the city know to just leave him alone or something like that. because he
Okay,
has, like,
where
that
did you see
energy.
him?
Way in general.
Oh, I gotta think of the.
Okay, this is what you do. You know how to you gotta work a situation, right?
You
So
need
if
to
I
network.
No, I ain't talking to him. I'm never
Okay, I'll
approaching
come
him.
there. I'll come do it.
no,
Okay.
this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Oh, sorry guys, my table doesn't have any, salt and pepper. Do you mind handing me some? Thank you so much.
No.
Act like you don't know him.
Networking 101.
Dude, he understands. He understands.
Right. I'm
Okay,
sure he
so I
does.
want to tell you the restaurant but then I'll tell you after the
Don't
stream.
dox his favorite places. That's the quickest way not to get his money.
Yeah, no, I don't want his money. I don't ever want to have a conversation with him because I don't want to.
No, Mr. Buffett.
I don't want to embarrass myself.
Yes, no,
That's
listen to
why.
Tom. Don't listen. Do not listen.
I feel the same way about every celebrity. Anybody I've seen on TV, I back away slowly because I don't want to embarrass myself.
Well, and
I saw
waited
Matt Damon once, and I turned around and walked the other way. It's a weird thing I have.
Go ahead, Mercedes.
I waited tables for all of my life, even while I was welding. And when I moved back to Kearney from Grand Island and I stopped welding and I went back to slowly waiting tables, I worked at Old Chicago here. And we have some people stopping off the interstate that would be considered A-listers. But then I moved to this little itty-bitty restaurant in town that I won't name because they're not good business. But they would have the Koch brothers come through.
Ugh.
And I don't know what Warren Buffett actually looks like. I wouldn't be surprised. But, it's a Nebraska thing. You just leave them alone. You just do.
Well, not for me, because I went to the Webby Awards and I met Keke Palmer, which is probably the most famous
That is
person.
an appropriate place to network, though. But out in public, Nebraskans in general, even in politics, we're just enjoying the good life and what's left of it. So that makes a lot of sense.
So let me tell you about this experience meeting her. So I go to the Webby Awards, and it was wild that I even got to go there. So I'm there looking at all these people. Chad Ochocinco walks by me. I'm just like, what is life? So I make this new friend who I was seated at this table with. I was talking to, the people at my table, and, they're doing the show and everything. And Amber Ruffin from Omaha was hosting, and super cool. Didn't get a chance to meet her, but I was like, after they took the break to serve dinner, I was like, hey, let's go meet Shannon Sharpe and Keke Palmer. And he's like, oh, okay. So we get up. I go up, take a photo with Shannon Sharpe. He was a nice guy, but you could tell he wasn't trying to do too much, So I was like, all right, thank you. And I was like, all right, let's go talk to Keke. And he froze and he's like, I can't do it. And turns around and walks away.
I know how it feels.
So I walk up to her table and I'm just like, it's so weird that you're a real person, because I've only ever seen you through TV screens. And she was she's really tall, actually. She's 5'8", 5'9", heels plus. So she's sitting down, texting on her phone, looking like she's giving it to whoever she's texting. She looked into it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, is she one of those celebrities that's not approachable and stuff? And I was like, hey, Keke. And she keeps typing. And I was like, fuck. I was like, and then she puts her phone down and looks at me with the biggest smile. She's like, hi. Oh. And then we had this whole interaction. She was so nice, super, super cool, so chill, the most famous person I've ever met. And also the nicest famous person I've ever met. I don't know. I mean, I've only met a few famous people like that, but she was super, super, super cool. How she is in person is how she is online and on TV, bubbly, chill, happy and everything. And we took a photo. She said hi from my vlog. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. You get nervous to meet people like that, Tommy?
Oh yeah. I mean, even Lyrian,
the mayor.
One time, dude, I'm not okay. One time it was at her office opening launch or something like that for the last campaign. Mm-hmm. And, I had been doing some volunteering and stuff. I do like Lyrian. She's cool. very normal, actually. You know, I mean,
She
I've
was
met
pretty
a lot
chill.
of local politicians just don't seem like normal human beings. But so I'd been helping, and then one of her staffers was like, "Oh, hey, Tommy's over there. You should go say hi to him." And then I was just like, and then I grabbed my wife and put her in between us, and I was just like, "Yeah, this is my wife." And then slowly, backed away as they started talking about stuff. My wife could talk to anyone, but yeah, like I don't want to embarrass myself in front of these people, because there's
Why
just
would
that
you put your wife in that situation? Like,
she's a natural. She could be friends with them. She could make friends with lepers. Like that's who she is, right?
seriously?
Oh yeah,
Huh.
yeah. But anyways, I gotta get going because I gotta go pick the kid up. But it's fun talking to y'all. Yeah, it's Free Talk Friday. It just came into
Free
a nice
talk.
little group there.
Yeah. I told Tommy, Tommy was like, we should do a show tonight. And I was like, I don't have anything planned. He was like, Free Talk Friday. So here we are. Thank you so much for coming on, Mercedes. It's been awesome
Thanks for
having
having
you.
me. Sorry I had tech issues. My iPhone overheated and my MacBook decided it doesn't want to play nicely. So, thanks. It was fun. I'm not going to say it wasn't fun. I'm just sorry for the tech issues.
We should do this every Friday.
Yeah, I have Fridays off now, so
I mean, I'm good for Fridays and every other Fridays, depending.
yeah, just jump on whenever.
But
I'm actually going to Vegas next Friday, though. So maybe not.
Are you looking for a healthcare CEO?
oh, jeez.
No,
Too soon.
I do not partake in that.
Gallows
Tommy,
humor, okay?
Oh,
Tommy,
And
this is
it's
just
I'm
internet.
I wanted to
No.
like get in on that because there is like an intellectual conversation to be had, but we kind of just ran out of the clock there. But it's just like it's one of those things, Jazari. It's like looking at the reaction, you can actually kind of really pinpoint like the frustration that working class people are having.
I understand that, but I mean, like, I also don't want to get caught up in something.
No, I'm not saying that that's the way it should have gone down. And as a matter of fact, they should probably catch that guy and prosecute him. Like, even though he's become some kind of a folk hero on the internet, like you don't want vigilanteism to happen because it could quickly spiral out of control. You just
Yeah.
want to kind of keep people from being violent. Like, there's a whole like actual serious conversation to have about it that I probably should have gone into, but like people are coping with. Because it's reminding us how bleak our healthcare system is. And this is just a nice little outlet for people, I think. So am I saying go, cap a healthcare CEO? No. Like, no.
You literally just asked me, are you gonna go look for us?
It's a joke. Okay. And I'm smiling because the whole topic just really makes me like nervous and
you're a nervous
makes me think-
smiler. Oh,
yeah, no, I am. Dude, I used to get chewed out a lot in school for that.
same.
But I mean, just kind of trying to get the pulse on people. That was just like a nice little, not nice, but like it was just like one of those things that just kind of hits you. You understand that everybody was like pretty much, they were all laughing at it. They were all telling jokes and memes and stuff like that. And it was a murder at the end of it,
Not just murder,
But
it's
it's like,
assassination.
what-
That's a different
why
class.
are people reacting this way? And you can have a really deep conversation and can really get to the heart of what people are feeling these days.
Mercedes, what was your take on that? I can't remember if you talked about it earlier with this whole healthcare CEO thing.
I've been really good at not talking about it.
Okay.
Well, it's not just a murder; it is an assassination. There was
Yeah.
a clear
Yeah.
message sent.
Yeah.
We all understand exactly why this happened. It will be written about in the assassination guidebook that they keep updating, right? Like
There's an assassination guidebook?
Oh, you guys don't know about the Red Book of Assassinations? It's a historical document. It catalogs all of the assassinations throughout history, political or otherwise. It's the beautiful literature. Beautiful.
I mean, I want to hear the guy's
Wow.
story. I mean, like, he needs to, hey, for the good of, I know a lot of people might not agree, but for the good of society, he needs to be caught. He needs to have his day in court.
Well,
And-
true, yes, and that's what I mean is assassination's bad, murder is bad. I understand what led up to this.
Yeah.
But even doing research of what else was going on, they were up for antitrust things with the DOJ this year because of their mass acquisitions of other insurance companies. Like
goodbye antitrust.
so much going on. So I'm sad that we're at the point where people feel like they need to kill people. I'm glad that Blue Cross Blue Shield took note, apparently, because they went from no more anesthesia for the whole procedure to, okay, we're going to roll back that decision in the same day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the ripple effects of this happening, because obviously they're going to happen. People are mad enough to assassinate people, which is wrong. Again,
it's like, let's learn from this. Like, why are people doing this?
They are. They pushed it to the brink, and they saw a recoil, pun intended, and decided to change course.
Well, the no recoil. I mean, come on, dude. You gotta keep your gun clean.
But
yeah.
No, well, to your point really quick, Mercedes, about the cutoff for anesthesia. So what do they do? Just like if somebody wakes up in the middle of surgery, they're like, okay, well, you gotta stay awake.
No.
Or is it like, we're just going to bill you for this?
They're going to bill you. They were going to bill you for it.
The extra. Yeah.
The extra. Yes. They just weren't going to cover it because they didn't think that was much was needed. So it's that overreach of policies that aren't laws. And that's what it really breaks down to, is America is not governed by laws. We're governed by policies made by corporations who are not experts in the field. It's not even government doing it. It's just money within these industries.
Lobbyists.
These
bills, yeah.
That's lobbyists. That's where the money is.
And I would imagine that the anesthesia is probably the most expensive part of it, or one of the most expensive parts of it, because you have to have a whole person there monitoring just that part.
More than just one person. My grandma recently broke her hip, and she had 2-3 person team
of just anesthesiologists.
Anesthesiologists.
Wow.
And so it's just, when you have medical, like, I'm just going to say it out loud, CHI, when you have businesses that are hospitals, and within those hospitals, they are tax exempt because they are part of a religious organization, and then you don't have pay caps within that organization, you get these compounded corrupt happenings where insurance companies feel like they can do this because the hospitals say that they can do this, because within the billing departments you have corruption. Flat out. Just corruption is in charge right now. And as much as, until antitrust suits actually come out, and until these mega corporations are actually broken up, BlackRock, nothing will change. So just my final thought is, pay attention to where you're at. And Warren Buffett, I appreciate you, especially the lesson you learned with Nebraska Furniture Mart. If you don't know, go do your research, because
we'll look that up.
Miss B. Okay, so I'll just quick synopsis. Back in the day, like late 80s, Warren Buffett acquired Nebraska Furniture Mart from Miss B. And then something went down with her kids, and it pissed her off, so she started competing against him and almost drove Warren Buffett out of business. So Warren Buffett learned from that business acquisition not to be a shit, or a shit. Gotta self-moderate. He learned his lesson because this little Nebraska lady was like, "Nah, I don't enjoy the way you're doing business." So if Warren Buffett can learn, we can too.
Mr. Buffett, if you're watching, please throw us at least $5 million. That would set us up perfectly.
Oh,
also,
God.
I have some thoughts on your management of BNSF. If you would like to have a conversation.
Tommy, stop it. That's part of the conversation. Email him.
Yeah, we're talking about trying to get sponsors and stuff. And you're
trying to do reporting in a way that's accurate and needed right now, because Sinclair.
I'm sure he's got.
I don't need to keep going on, but Sinclair Media out here can.
We gotta go.
And all of the anchors and a whole team. So anyway,
we'll be back next week to keep going.
Sinclair. Oh.
Yeah. Write down things you want to talk about for next week.
Oh my gosh, you don't need that in your life.
All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this Free Talk Friday. Kind of just an impromptu thing, but I've had a great time. Did you guys have a good time?
I hope so. I did.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Jazari Qual Show, Free Talk Friday. Peace.